We slowly have people coming in. So we are now at the very end of the conference today, and really thank you for staying with us the whole day. And I think we're all looking forward to the networking in Apero afterwards. So just bear with us another half hour for the final conclusions. As you know, we had 3 different parallel sessions, and people were divided into different groups. So I think it's very useful for everyone to get a little bit of an overview of the conclusions from each of the sessions. And with us here are 3 of my colleagues from the Creative Flip project, who were the moderators of the sessions. So they will now present to us the main conclusions from each of their sessions. And it was really interesting discussions, so we look forward to hearing what they have to say. So first, I introduced the colleagues. So it's Eveline Durinck for the So You Need Money tool session, Joost Heinsius for the working conditions session, and Sylvia Amann for crossing sectors for positive transformation. And I maybe invite them in this order to take the floor one after another and present their conclusions.
Okay, first of all, thanks a lot to all the participants in the working group on the So You Need Money tool for your valuable inputs to further enrich the tool's content and for your inspiring ideas. So in this working group, we presented the So You Need Money tool, a tool aimed at overcoming the main challenges that people and organizations working in the cultural and creative sectors face when looking for finance. A first main challenge is the fact that people looking for finance often do not have a complete overview of the wide variety of financing instruments that are potentially accessible and that are suited to their financing needs. A second challenge relates to the fact that it's often difficult to understand the financial jargon used. And finally, there's a difficulty of both financiers and people in the sectors to really understand each other and to grasp what each expects and what each can bring to the table. And so the So You Need Money tool aims to overcome these challenges by guiding people and organizations through their financing journey. And the tool does this by providing an overview of national funding providers, finance providers, both private and public, and also open calls at EU level. And so based on the user's needs and characteristics, that's very important. So it's really tailored to the financing needs and the characteristics of the users. And so the tool covers a wide myriad of financing sources, ranging from debt finance such as microcredits and loans, equity finance, but also philanthropic organizations and foundations, and more hybrid instruments such as crowdfunding and impact investors or venture philanthropy organizations. And as such, the tool is fully complementary to the Culture EU funding guides. Secondly, with the tool, we also aim to strengthen the financial capacity building, also by using an accessible language. And an important aspect here is that we really want to raise the awareness on the possibilities and the advantages of combining different types of financing sources in a so-called financing mix, but also to make people reflect first on their financing needs before they actually start looking for finance. And so in order to feed and advance the tool, we are conducting interviews with networks of private finance providers, but also we are in the process of setting up a network of country correspondents to gather data on public finance providers. And we see the working groups this afternoon as a first stepping stone in this process. Now, the concepts I mentioned earlier on of the financing mix, of reflecting on your financing needs, these were first brought to the sector in the So You Need Money guide, which we developed in the pilot phase of Flip, and which Dubravka also introduced this morning. And so with the So You Need Money tool, we want to bring these concepts in an interactive and in a digital way, coupled to concrete financing providers that users can actually approach to explore the financing of their needs. And however, we do not only want to make the sector aware of what they can get from financiers, but also what they can mean for financiers. And in this sense, the fact that the conference has focused on the importance of resilient cultural and creative sectors in addressing important societal transitions closes the circle. And finally, we also very much want to stimulate within the project peer learning and the sharing of good practices and experiences of organizations and people who already successfully went through the financing journey. And for this, the Creatives Unite platform, also developed by the consortium, is perfect to share these good practices. Thank you. I gladly give the floor to Joost.
Okay, thanks. Just stand also. So we were talking about the position of I would say, the most non-standard workers in the sector, which are the self-employed. And we focused actually on 3 questions. The first is the position within social security. And the second was about how are they being represented in discussion on social security. And the third question is, what are forms of self-organization, of their own organization, finding solutions for this question. Now you see those 2 flip charts over there, and there are many pages behind those first pages. So we collected an enormous amount of information, and we found out that we already knew that, but it's very, very diverse in every country. So it will be a big challenge if we're talking about recommendations for the sector, and recommendations, for example, for the OMC group, how to develop these. One thing I really found out today, that there will be probably 2 groups of recommendations. One for where social security is either for self-employed or employees in general, and one for countries where there is actually a status for artists. Because I think we know that not every country will have a separate status for artists. So that's, I think, one thing that we take away. And the next phase will be, you do a lot of thinking, and then we're coming back to many of you to ask even more questions. Because this is really like kind of discovery journey on where we want to go to and how we can strengthen the position of self-employed for the future. And yeah, there's so much more to tell, but that's too much for now. So thank you.
So this brings us to transformation, not really a surprise. So we were discussing about the ecosystems which are needed to be developed, further developed, adapted in order to enhance cross-sectoral cooperation, and also linked, of course, then to the EU foresight scenarios. We were working in 6 parallel groups, so a big group and a lot of input. I will not be able to provide you with all the details, but we were working on 3 groups. One, the actors of transformation, 2, the governance of transformation, and then tools and methods of transformation. Maybe to start with the actors of transformation, so very interesting result also from this group. So 50% said that cross-sectoral cooperation was negatively infected by the pandemic because there was less communication. But 50% say also that more exchange has happened due to the digital opportunities and cooperation with the IT sector. There were also questions related to who are those people most suitable for cross-sectoral cooperation. So from these groups, we have heard artists, cultural managers, and researchers. related to skills. These people should have very strong communication skills, but there should be also more information on, for example, how culture can provide added value for questions related to climate change. For the competences these actors can bring to cross-sectoral cooperation is their agility and creativity, due to opinion of our group today. And organizations are most adapted to work across sectors if they have, for example, also diverse staffing. So if they are not monocultural blocks, so this will also be positive. Then on governance, there was a kind of feedback that there is still a lot of stimulation needed in order to come out of the silos. We are still much too much in our boxes, and that influences, of course, also our way of thinking. Even Creative Europe is perceived as a box, which should have more open doors in order to allow for wider cooperation. Then what is also needed is more backing from the sector, so also from the intermediary structures in order to support, for example, ministries who are going across sectoral way, and also related awareness. This was in general awareness raising, a very, very important element also then in the group of tools and methods, and that this is really something a focus needs to be put on all kinds and ways of directions of thinking related to this awareness raising. Then also when we think out of the box, awareness raising, internal awareness raising and external, there is also one problem, and this was maybe also enhanced by the pandemic, and this is that we are having now a lot of attention on the precarious situation. And this harms maybe also a wider forward-looking perception. Then when we cooperate related to different tools and methods, maybe most promising to identify shared problems from different sectors, so from the cultural sectors and outside cultural sectors. There are recommendations for bottom-up approaches and top-down approaches, so this is certainly an area where we need to further dig to see a little bit more closely what we can learn from these recommendations, and also maybe from the related situation. There is also a mention of funding programs as entry point, so cross-sectoral funding programs. This is only the first part of the work. We did then, in addition, work with the future policy mixer game, it's the inforelais game, on these foresight challenges. And it was really hard for the groups to how could I say, in a few minutes, effectively, so in 25 to 30 minutes, to find policy answers from the CCS for these big challenges. It was clear from the very beginning. So we had a demography challenge, so this was then also tackled related to working age population and also loss of population. So there were proposals and ideas how to enhance attractiveness, and that there could be a kind of, how could I say, cross-sectoral approach involving the CCS, social affairs department, but also the different instruments from the rural development and business community. Then we had a second challenge on democracy. So there were also recommendations, for example, to see democracy in a wider context, for example, related related also to internationalization, to work very intensively with emerging artists, with a wide range of different tools, like also radio, we like TV, radio activities, and another group also working on democracy wanted to further engage the creative sector in order to make the voices of so-called ordinary people better heard. Then we had two groups on food and water, and there was also the idea to further involve the artists, also as they are able to translate hard policies in a visual answer, which can be understood in another way, and also to develop further digital platforms for interaction. And the last group was thinking also to this water food challenge, how also new food cultures could be developed. So it's very briefly what we have discussed. It's quite a lot. So we are very grateful for all these insights, and yes, it will greatly contribute to the next steps we are preparing. And I can admit that, at least from my side, I had also a lot of pleasure and fun to be with you all. Thank you again.
Thank you very much to all three of you for the summaries of the really interesting discussions we could see. We also have really great photos, and which will be available online on our website later on to see also this amazing discussion. So we are now almost at the very end. We have the final concluding speeches from two representatives, on the one hand of the European Commission and on the other of our project consortium. So I would like to invite Barbara Stacher from the DG EAC European Commission, who has been our dear project officer since the start of the project in 2019, who has really supported us and really helped us develop FLIP into hopefully really a success story that it is today, and still with us for the next 2 years to even new victories and challenges. So Barbara, here a few closing statements from your side.
Yes, I promise I won't do a speech. Anyway, wow, great that we made it. I mean, how many of us thought this morning, oh gosh, the first real live conference, how will it be without the screen, without doing thousands of things at the same time, you know, with seeing real people, how will we survive the whole day? So we did survive, and we survived very well. I mean, it was the human factor, which was wonderful today to actually socialize and to discuss. And yeah, if you think about this process, I mean, that's quite unique, I think, also, because if you imagine there you have the Parliament, the Commission, the Council, Member States, creative hubs, stakeholders, academia, scholars, you know, all kinds of people who think about cultural policies. And being here, it's like thinking aloud, actually. So I think that's how the best way of policy making is like that we don't really think, oh, I'm from here, I'm from there, I'm supposed to say this or not to say that. No, I mean, here it's like, it's better than Chatham House, it's La Vallée House rules, I don't know what, but in any case, it's like thinking aloud, and I think that's really, thank you all for giving your input and sharing your thoughts, even. I mean, how many times did I hear today, even like from people from the FLIP project, oh yeah, you know, we have discussed this, but we haven't discussed it yet internally. But, you know, so that's what it is about. And I want to thank you all very much, and thank you.
Thank you very much, Barbara. And now for the closing words, Elke Kaschl-Mohni, who is the Director for Region of Southwest Europe of the Goethe-Institut, on behalf of our large project consortium, just to give a few final words.
Thank you, Dubravka. Yes, dear ladies and gentlemen, it's really a great pleasure for me to now really formally close this conference on behalf of the consortium. And let me remind you, the consortium is your European Creative Hubs Network, Idea Consult, 3S Unternehmensberatung and Intellectual Property Institute Luxembourg, as well as the Goethe-Institut in the lead. It's really a great pleasure also to close it together with you, Barbara, from the Commission. It's been a fantastic cooperation, I must say, with you throughout these past years. It's a very trustful, close, very easy cooperation. So thank you also today for this. And it's really, as Barbara also said, a great pleasure to be able to close this conference in person. Thank you so much for having stayed with us throughout this whole day. It does make a difference. I think we've all become digitally very, very versed, and there is so much that we can do digitally, and there's this whole new dimension and potential of the digital. Yet, as also I felt today, kind of this power of the unexpected encounter, that you see people you didn't expect to see and you can talk to them very quickly and you don't have to arrange it. This kind of power of the physicality of sharing one space and being more than, I don't know, 4 people in a Zoom room, but really thinking together, creating together. I think this is something that is special to the physical, and it's so good that we can do it again. So it's great to be closing this physical conference. And don't worry, I will be brief because I know I'm the last thing standing between you and the aperitif. So I will be brief, and yet allow me a few words. It was an exciting and fruitful day. It was highly interesting, a range of to-the-point, kind of also cutting-edge thinkers, speakers, presentations, discussions that zoomed in on the really essential, acute questions that are driving the sector today. How do resilient CCSI ecosystems address future societal and economic transformations? What are appropriate options to build back and bounce forward in view of the post-pandemic experience and beyond? What is needed to ensure the rights of artists and creative professionals, fair working conditions, how to involve them, the sector, and make the voice of the sector heard, or rather the voices, I should say. I really want to thank all the speakers from the European Parliament, European Commission, French Council Presidency, member states, and experts from the culture and creative sectors and industries for having joined us this morning and for having shared your viewpoints, opinions on these important issues and really helped and contributed to flipping perspectives on the future of the CCSIs. So thank you. This afternoon, we really focused on maximizing exchange. I kind of slipped and keep saying maximizing potential, but I think it is a bit maximizing exchange and potential, and really zooming in on, as I said, the voices of the sector and giving space to thinking together and making the voices heard. We are so happy that we had, I think, more than 100 participants together here in the space. It's been extremely productive, as we also just heard from Eveline, Joost, and Sylvia, what was discussed in the working groups. And just to remind you, we had, the 3 big themes: working conditions of artists and creative professionals, zooming in on the non-standard workers in the CCSIs, social security system, status of artists, representations. These were one of the big themes of one group. We heard about cross-sectoral cooperation in the CCSIs and positive transformation of our societies with Sylvia. And of course, we looked at the tool, So You Need Money tool, that really wants to contribute for the sector to find the right opportunities, to cater to financial needs, to help enhance financial literacy, and as Sylvia said, to understand the jargon. So these are big issues. I hope that this conference really helped contribute our thinking discussion on these issues, and also to help really put them into practice, because I think in the end this is what counts, put them into policy practice and make them be felt by the sector. And so with this, maybe just beyond the issues that were discussed here during this day, maybe to enlarge a bit, because Creative Flip is a multifaceted, long-standing, large project, and to give you a bit of a taste what we are looking at beyond the issues that were at stake here, just very briefly, we're looking at cross-sectoral cooperation with the educational sector, developing transversal skills, how some EU tools can better respond to the needs of the CCSIs. We look at peer learning opportunities for creative hubs, good practice with regional authorities, capacity building, intellectual property rights, and much more. And I'm saying this to really whet your appetite to stay with us, follow us, see what Creative Flip has in store and can come up with. And I really want to thank you that you shared with us today. It's the kickstart of the new phase. Thank you for having joined us, having stayed with us, and your ideas and inputs. And my last thank, and this is it, I really want to say a big bravo and thank you to Dubravka and Wanda. Again, it was a tremendous job that you did. Thank you so much for having pulled this together and having made this possible. So, merci.
Thank you all very much. Well, there's really not much more to say, really, as Elke say, not to extend this much longer. But we really hope you enjoyed this day. It was really, I think, a really nice feeling for everyone to be back here in person. And I think the organization ran really smooth. I mean, whoever has organized conferences know how much work comes behind and before the actual event. So really, I want to say kudos to the team from La Régie who helped us with the live stream and recordings and the microphones and everything. To our photographer, Serena, who was following us throughout the day with the great photos. To the great La Vallée team, really, for the amazing space and everything. To my colleagues from the consortiums, both the ones that you saw on stage and the ones which are doing lots of things behind the screens and research and online sessions tomorrow, because the conference continues, at least in smaller aspect, tomorrow as well. So really thanks to the whole team for the great contribution to the Flip and the success, but also to my team from the Goethe, Wanda especially, and Vera as well, and all the interns and everyone who was helping us with the registrations, because there's so much work to do. So kudos and really a big applause for them, please. So really on this note, to finish really, just to say, La Vallée has been really kind enough to offer a tour of the venue, whoever is interested to see the rest of this huge, I think 2,000 square meter space. It will be going off from the bar, so if you're interested in going, you can now go to the meeting point at the bar, and Marie will take you around and show you this amazing co-working space and everything that they have. For the rest, here at the gallery, but also in the bar, enjoy the drinks and some apero now in really a relaxed atmosphere, because everything is done and over successfully. So we can now really relax and enjoy, and really hope to see you next time at the Creative Flip event. So thank you. Thank you.